fact that in the hands of our youth lies our country's future. As such, key investments must be made so as to mold them into the leaders we wish to see. On this episode of Government in Action, we explore initiatives aimed at strengthening youth development in Guyana. The nation's young people represent Guyana's potential to adequately tackle modern-day challenges and harness the country's resources to ensure the good life is a sustainable goal for all Guyanese. However, the youth are also the most vulnerable group. President David Granger, recognizing the high levels of unemployment, uneven access to quality education, and the high risk for drug abuse and sexually transmitted infections, has begun to advance a broad-based approach to youth development built on a solid education foundation.
We shall introduce social policies that will harness and develop the creative energies of our people and that will support the holistic development of our women and our youth. Your government is aware that too many very young and very old persons are still classified as extremely poor, with an expenditure level that is far below what is required to purchase a minimum daily low-cost diet. Poverty can be reduced and perhaps eventually eradicated with good governance and the sensible public policies that we shall introduce. The fight against poverty cannot be won through charitable handouts alone. Neither will trickle-down economics be the panacea for pauperization and privation. Providing jobs for our people, particularly our young people, will be one of our priorities. Today in our country, there's a crisis of youth unemployment. Many of our young people are leaving school and university, but are unable to find jobs. Without jobs, they will never be able to escape from the cycle of poverty.
However, any youth policy must have the input and buy-in of the people who it will affect the most, Guyana's young people. The government of Guyana has, over the past year, embarked on national consultations which allowed young people all over Guyana to define their issues and propose solutions. A draft youth policy has now been completed. On a recent edition of The Public Interest, President Granger, in response to an update on the national youth policy, explained that a white paper is being prepared and will soon be laid in the National Assembly. Elaborating on its key components, Presidential Advisor on Youth Empowerment, Mr. Aubrey Norton, said that the National Youth Policy was developed following studies conducted to identify problems affecting youth in the country. Chief among those, he said, included issues such as unemployment. As a result, the elements aim to create entrepreneurs through methods of training and education.
The general position that is taken is that for you to empower people, you need to either educate them for employment or educate them for business. The youth policy takes that into consideration and identify a number of strategic areas and priorities that it will address. Entrepreneurship is one of them. Education and training is another. Building a self-esteem is also another.
Without the youth policy, however, efforts have been made to establish programs that will engage youth in these key areas. Mr. Norton explained that since taking up his current post, he and his team have conducted countrywide surveys, interacting with youth and strengthening youth organizations. Based on feedback, Mr. Norton said many young Guyanese are interested in taking up positions of leadership, but are not given the exposure or opportunity to do so. Coming out of this objective was the idea of a leadership training program, a week-long session that teaches young people practical leadership-related skills. The programs are hosted at the Maduini Training Center on the Linden Highway. So far, 2 of 8 planned sessions have been hosted and have seen almost 120 youth from across the country trained in areas of leadership, management, event planning, communications, effective public speaking, meetings, and meeting procedures.
In a nutshell, I would say we have brought together these young people. They've had a lot of discussion, a lot of exchanges, and so they are now going out back equipped with the information to give leadership and to encourage more young people to become involved.
By the end of the year, close to 500 young people will have been exposed to these programs, which Mr. Norton said will have long-term impacts on their lives. He added that as a spin-off to such programs, other youth-targeted initiatives are in the making.
A lot of them, I think, will leave motivated to focus on youth. Then we started some discussions, and we'll talk with the University of Guyana, including the new Vice Chancellor, about putting youth work into the university curriculum. And he himself had mentioned, and we talked about talking about a youth empowerment center at the University of Guyana. So in the long term, it's really to take youth work to a professional level and ensure that young people are professionally trained and can operate in a professional way amongst young people.
At the graduation ceremony of the first program early this month, Minister of State Mr. Joseph Harman, who attended the event, informed the 57 participants that youth make up more than 60% of the population. He added that due to the challenges facing young people in Guyana, those surrounding employment, education and empowerment, such programs should start immediately, even while the National Youth Policy is still being finalized.
We therefore came into office, came into government with a very clear understanding of the critical challenges and the crisis that our young people face as a result of the neglect of the previous government for over 2 decades. We also had a very clear vision and a plan of action for youth empowerment. One of the main components of that plan is the provision of education and training for all of our young people, everywhere, in all communities, in every region, on the coastland and in hinterland, because we believe that all Guyana is one Guyana.
Minister Harman encouraged the participants to be doers, not talkers, so that they can achieve practical, positive and tangible goals that will benefit the country. He added that young people should become involved in the political, economic and social affairs of their communities as precursors to their involvement in regional and national affairs.
You are the new vanguard in our quest to have the youth take their rightful place in our country's affairs. In our efforts at national revival and rebirth, yours is the task of commencing the process of developing our most precious resource, our human resource. As was pointed out earlier, our youth population is almost 2/3 of our total population. By virtue of this alone, you deserve the highest consideration and attention in Guyana if we are to develop and if we are to succeed in providing a good life for ourselves. I therefore charge you, the graduates, to make full use of this unique opportunity that you have been given to make a meaningful contribution to the development of our country.
Those who graduated expressed their gratitude for being exposed to the contents of the course, and all noted their endeavors to pass on the knowledge to others in their communities.
I learned how to deal with myself as a person, to enable me to become a better leader. Most of the things in the workshop I learned, for me, it taught me how to, I am good at public speaking. But when I speak, I sound like if I'm in a debate. This helped me to speak without being an argument. It helped me to be more confident and calm when I'm talking. Mm-hmm. It also helped me to understand the needs of young people better, help to understand their psychology. It also makes me patient because I'm a very hurry person. It helps me to become more patient, more considerate of other persons, and I have an attitude. Mr. Aubrey Norton has been constantly telling me, this is not you do it, you don't use that tone. And it's helping me, gradually changing for the better and to deal with them as well.
Okay. The experience was great and I'm overwhelmed, I must say. I learned about leadership, how to conduct myself as a leader. I learned public speaking, of which I was great in my presentation. We learned about communication, we learned about ethics, we learned about event planning. And I promise to take those training back to my youth group and my community.
The second training session was held 1 week later, where an additional 59 young aspiring leaders undertook the tasks laid out in the training session. At that graduation ceremony, It was technical facilitator to the Minister of Education, Mr. Vincent Alexander, who urged the group to be the type of leaders who work tirelessly for the good of their communities, even as they pursue their own career goals. He stated that as leaders, they will be expected to give specific guidance with regards to ideas, vision, organizing, and mobilizing. He added that in carrying out these roles, it should be in a manner that shows that they truly enjoy what they are doing, rather than just doing it for an ulterior motive.
I'm not saying that leaders should not be rewarded, but I'm saying that as leaders, you should be inspired not by the possible reward, but you should be inspired by the fact that you love what you're doing and you like to see the results of what you're doing in the community in which you're doing what you're doing. That is what should motivate you. The moment you become motivated because you want to achieve an office of some sort, you want a material reward of some sort, you want a job of some sort, I can advise you, you may well have embarked upon the course of frustration. Those things, as a consequence of your leadership, cannot and are not guaranteed. What is guaranteed is that if you give good leadership, then you will make a difference to your club and to your community. And since you will be a part of that club and a part of that community, the difference which you will make will impact you as a part of that club or that community.
He advised the participants to be aware that as leaders also, their behavior will be scrutinized, but that could work to their favor in ensuring that they do the right thing. The participants of the second course expressed that they felt more close to their leadership goals and that they were in a better position to guide the youth in their communities when they returned home.
One of the most important things that I'm taking away from this program is the ability to listen to young people, because every young people, they need a voice, but you cannot be a voice for young people if you do not take the time to listen to them. And so from hearing everything that was said, there were a lot. All were excellent, but the most important thing for me is being a good listener so that young people could have a medium to challenge or to channel their views and their difficulties in life.
When we come here, we have the opportunity to air concerns, to air what we need, what we don't really need, what we don't think is necessary. We think that the facilitators here gave us the opportunity to say, well, we need this, we need facilities, we need sports and equipment. So when we come here, it's one of the ways of telling the government or telling the facilitators what we need in Linden. And this program does a lot. We might be about 6 of us from Linden, but we're taking it back to the masses.
I realize, even though there are times when you think that you have it all covered and set, but really and truly, this training is really enlightening me to understand that there's so much more I can do as a leader, because I'm the vice chairman. As a leader, I can really push things to another level. I can really encourage and inspire the young people to come to another place. So that's what I'm really taking to now apply the principles so that we can build from that base.
But leadership training is only one part of the plans involved in the youth empowerment agenda. As part of developing enterprise, programs in economic empowerment are also underway. One such initiative is the Heavy Duty Operator Program currently being conducted at the Kurukuru Training College. The 3-month program will train and assess 25 young men in the theory and practice of operating heavy-duty equipment.
This heavy-duty equipment training is the first batch of what we hope will be an ongoing series as we look to empower young people from the various regions within Guyana.
Right. So tell me specifically about the contents of the course. Obviously, it was mentioned that they have several different aspects that relate to sexual health and other, apart from just learning these technical skills. Tell me about putting together this program. What's the use of every part?
All right, we are working in collaboration with the Board of Industrial Training, And so most of the training will be done by personnel from the Board of Industrial Training who already have a program of heavy duty in place. And so their curriculum, rather than just looking at training persons to operate the machine, they will be looking at things like life skills. Person must know about themselves. We want to train them in business and entrepreneurship so that even if they leave the work, when they'll finish the training, rather than seeking employment, they might also be able to establish their own business.
Following the completion of this program, successful candidates will be certified and assisted by the government to become licensed before moving on to find jobs. Like the Youth Leadership Program, the young men on the course hail from all the regions across the country, and several expressed that the opportunity was one that could not be passed up due to the prospects of certification and possible employment that are in store.
This opportunity for us is good because for most youths that doesn't have very good qualifications, this is a start and a push for them in life.
Because I never been have this opportunity before as a youth, but now it come about, so I take it as a first chance. So I enjoy it. I guess it will be great things for me.
We've learned a lot of things, you know, basically how the human body work. I mean, we maybe pertaining to agriculture, heavy duty mechanic, but there's so much thing that we learn, how to respect each other, how to respect women and so forth.
Mr. Norton explained that these are not the only programs planned. Also on the agenda are counseling and guidance programs, literary programs, as well as food processing programs. Mr. Norton said that these initiatives will hopefully be launched later in the year so as to keep the momentum that has been given to youth empowerment in Guyana. Gaining a sense of self and leadership at an early age sets our youth on a meaningful path toward becoming good decision makers. This is Jasmine Payne. Thank you for joining us.